A very good day. Today we will discuss Lagrange multipliers in Lagrange's equations of motion, and we will consider the case for holonomic constraints which are simpler. We have studied holonomic constraints may be expressed by this kind of equations. Some function of coordinates must be equal to 0, and if this is the function, if I take the variation of this function delta f. So, there are two coordinates here. First, we consider a case where two Cartesian coordinates are involved. So, f is a function of x 1 and x 2. So, any variation in f will have partial differentiation of f with respect to the first coordinate and variation of that particular coordinate. Again, partial derivative of the function with the second coordinate and variation with respect to the second coordinate. Since function is always 0, so this variation is also going to be 0. Delta x 1 and delta x 2 are not independent, that we can see here. So, if I have a system of two Cartesian coordinates with some constraint equation like the one given here, then x 1 and x 2 are not independent coordinates. So, degrees of freedom cannot be 2. So, it would be less, and since there is one constraint equation, it would be 1. So, let us look at the action variable. So, L is the Lagrangian of the system of two coordinates and two velocity. There is no time dependence in explicit manner. X 1, x 2, etcetera, x 1 dot, x 2 dot, they all vary with time, but time does not appear explicitly in the system. So, it is a closed system. So, action is defined as the integral L dt from point t 1 to point t 2. The action integral is stationary on actual path. Suppose we are considering in two dimensional problem, the curve goes from one point to other point, and so there is x 1 this side, x 2 this side, and we are looking for various possible paths. So, I must have a third direction. So, along which these curves should be plotted. So, there are various possible curves. So, one of the curves, let us say this one is actual curve. Actual curve meaning the integral or the action would be least if system moves along this curve, but there are possibility of various other curves which may not be on the actual path. So, let us call them, they are nearby paths or some sort of wrong paths. They are not the actual path that will give a stationary value of the action integral. Okay. So, at any location we can choose various values of we can displace the curve little bit along x 1 and x 2 such that we get position of new point on the nearby curve, not the actual curve, so called wrong curves. Okay. So, x 1 and x 2 they are for the actual curve, and delta x 1 they are the displacement from the actual one. So, what is the criteria we require in this kind of system or Hamilton's principle? So, these variations must be 0 at the end points. So, curves may be many, but all must pass through these 2 points. So, delta x 1 and delta. So, delta x 1 would be 0 at t equal to t 1 as well as t equal to t 2. Similarly, delta x 2 would be also 0 at t equal to t 1 and t equal to t 2. So, if displacement is consistent with the constant equation, then action is unchanged because of this. So, variation of action must be 0. What is the meaning of consistent with the constant equation? Equation says there is a function f of 2 coordinates and that is 0. For example, in case of a coplanar pendulum, it is the length of the pendulum. So, length has to be constant. So, whatever delta x 1 and delta x 2 we consider, all possible values are acceptable as long as length of the pendulum is not stretched. So, that is what is the meaning of consistent with the constraint equation. So, this should not change the constraint equation, that should remain valid. So, if I have chosen various possibilities of delta x 1 and delta x 2 between time t 1 and t 2. So, there would be variety of paths, infinite number of paths which may be nearby. However, if all delta x 1 and delta x 2 etcetera at 2 endpoints they are consistent with the constant equation, then action, if it has a stationary value along the actual path. So, as you are nearby, the variation of the action would be 0. That is what we had done in calculus of variation as well as while doing Hamilton's principle. So, now let us find out the change in the action. So, action integral is L dt. L depends on x 1 x 2 x 1 dot x 2 dot. So, 2 coordinates and 2 velocities. So, we will have to differentiate this Lagrangian with respect to x 1 and variation is in x 1. Again I have to differentiate it with the first velocity x 1 dot and variation is variation in x 1 dot. I have to take derivative with respect to second coordinate and variation in the second coordinate. Similarly, differentiation of Lagrangian with respect to the second velocity and variation in the second velocity, which is represented by delta variation. And if I take the integral, that has to be 0. So, we can now find out these two terms, the whole integral, this part, where delta x 1 dot appears and delta x 2 dot appears, as we had done earlier. So, I am taking one of this. So, dou L dou x 1 dot delta x 1 dot dt, this integral we will find out as delta variation, a small variation in the position and rate of change of the position, they can be chosen independent of each other. So, they commute. So, d dt and delta they commute. So, I can take d dt outside and inside I have delta x 1. Now, we integrate by parts. So, total differential of delta x 1 after integration, that becomes delta x 1 times this part derivative of delta derivative of Lagrangian with respect to x 1 dot, and they are to be evaluated at t equal to t 1 and t equal to t 2 minus. Now, there would be derivative of the first term which has remained constant while finding out the first part. So, now d dt of that, and the part that is integrated delta x 1 that comes here and d t. So, that is what is the integration by parts for this term. Okay. Now, delta x 1 is 0 at the end points at t equal to t 1 and t equal to t 2, this is 0. So, this part will vanish and we will be left with the second part, which is an integral. That is what we are left with. Similarly, we can integrate by parts this one. Delta variation and time derivative, they are independent of each other. So, d dt can be taken out and delta is inside. Now, we do integration by parts, and delta x 2 also has to vanish at the end points. So, this term is also going to go away and we are left with only these two things. So, now, these two equations we put back in this one. Then what do we get? We get an expression for the variation of action S as two parts. First part is, you can recognize this is what is Lagrange equation we have done earlier. This is multiplied with delta x 1 and d t. Similarly, for the other coordinate delta x 2 and d t here. Earlier our argument was, when we had chosen a generalized coordinate, which was actually number of generalized coordinate was same as the number of degrees of freedom. So, these variations delta q 1, delta q 2 for generalized coordinates, they were independent variables and we could vary them independently. So, we had set the coefficient of this equal to 0, because integral has to be 0, then each of them has to be 0. But that argument is no more valid now. Why? Delta x 1 and delta x 2, they are no more independent of each other. Because of the constraint equation, they are connected. You see, if I take my function and we do the derivative. So, delta x 1 and delta x 2, they are not independent of each other, they are connected. So, only one of them is independent. So, number of degree of freedom has gone down by 1. However, we are working in Cartesian coordinates. So, we have to keep 2 coordinates. Okay. So, if delta x 1 and delta x 2, they are not independent, then I cannot vary them independently. So, I cannot set this part the coefficient of delta x 1 0 and coefficient of delta x 2 0 separately. This is because of the constraint in the system, and we have chosen a coordinate system where constraints are not automatically eliminated, their rule is still important because our choice is Cartesian coordinate. So, I write down the equation which I just derived, variation in action that I have written here, which we just derived, and delta x 1 and delta x 2, they are not independent. So, we cannot take the coefficient of that separately equal to 0. So, let us go back to the constraint. This equation is supplied with a constraint equation, and constant equation also we derived, this was there. So, in this equation what we do? We multiply, since this is equal to 0, I can multiply by any parameter which may be time dependent, which may be time independent, depending on the problem we are handling. So, in general it could be time dependent also, but many problem it may be independent of time. Since this part is already 0, so it does not matter with what parameter I multiply. These parameters are arbitrarily at the moment, they must be non-zero, otherwise it does not make sense. So, this is some non-zero parameter, I have multiplied this equation. Now, you see this part, and similarly lambda times this part, if I can add in the equation, their sum is 0, it is given there, right. So, that is what we are going to do now. Now, in the equation for the variation in action, I have added this term, both the terms. So, their sum is 0, they are both under the same integral T 1 to T 2 dt, and one is multiplied with delta x 1, other is multiplied with delta x 2. So, first one is multiplied with delta x 1 and second one is with delta x 2. So, I have put them in two parts according to my convenience. So, one has become in the coefficients of delta x 1, one has come here and another one has come as coefficients of delta x 2. Since their sum is 0, so addition of that in this equation does not make any difference. So, unknown multiplier lambda is known as Lagrange multiplier. The value of this parameter can be chosen arbitrarily. It may be set such that coefficient of delta x 1 is 0. Now, this is one arbitrary parameter. So, I can set its value such that this whole thing is 0. Since this is arbitrary parameter, I can choose its value, let us say in any one of the integral. So, let us choose in the first one. Value of lambda I select in such a way this integral, which is the coefficient of delta x 1, becomes 0. Since I have a parameter in my hand, I can set its value positive, negative, any value. Okay. So, by setting lambda, I can force the coefficient of delta x 1 to be 0. So, that is the use of this Lagrange multiplier. So, if I do that, so then the coefficient of delta x 1 can be set equal to 0. So, when it is 0, this lambda has been given some value, which is a suitable value. Here we have added as some arbitrary number, and now we must choose a value, so that this part of the integral, this everything in a square bracket, that becomes 0. We still do not know what its value is, but theoretically we assume it has been given a suitable value such that the coefficient of delta x 1 becomes 0. So, now let us look at equation of motion. So, in standard equation we used to have this term d dt of partial derivative of Lagrangian with respect to velocity x 1 dot, and so that is actually momentum. So, rate of change of momentum, and we had this term partial derivative of Lagrangian with respect to the coordinate, this gives me the force, and now we have additional term. So, how can we interpret this? This is total force, rate of change of momentum in x 1 direction or for x 1 variable is a force which is derivable from potential in standard way, because if x appears in Cartesian coordinate, it will appear in potential energy. If you write in generalized coordinate, then coordinate may appear even in kinetic energy term, the coefficients. And what is this? This is also some force, and this force has to do with the constraint that has been applied on the system. So, as soon as this has been set equal to 0, since the sum delta s, which is sum of two integrals, that is always 0, because s has a stationary value, that is what we have assumed, and that is why variation in s is set equal to 0. Now, the sum of these two terms is always 0, and first term is set equal to 0 by choosing my lambda. Now, I cannot touch my lambda, I cannot touch lambda here. This lambda is fixed once I have fixed lambda here, but the sum of these two terms are 0 and first term has become 0. So, the second one should also be 0, there is no other alternative. So, by choosing lambda properly, I can set the coefficient of delta x 1 equal to 0, and once that is done, then the whole integral, sum of two integrals are 0. So, second integral has to be 0. So, the expression inside the square bracket here, that must be 0. So, now we have another equation of motion for the other Cartesian coordinate x 2. This was for x 1 and this is for second Cartesian coordinate. As Lagrangian, which is T minus u, kinetic energy minus potential energy depends on x 1 and x 2. So, it will have half, let us say this two coordinate system which I have chosen x 1 and x 2, it could be for a system of two particles, or it could be also a planar motion of a one particle system. For example, pendulum. For coplanar pendulum, there is 1 degree of freedom if we write generalized coordinate, but if we do in Cartesian coordinate, then we require two coordinates. Okay. So, if we do a system where there is one mass and it has 2 degrees of two coordinates, because the motion is restricted to a plane. So, in such cases mass would be the common mass. So, m 1 would be equal to m 2 and there would be one potential energy of that mass. But same system could be a system of two particles. Let us say two particles make a system which is confined to move along x axis. So, it is a two particle system. So, I require two coordinates x 1 for the first particle, x 2 for the second particle, and both are confined to move only along a straight line along the x axis. So, in such cases we can have two equations of motion, right. So, one would be for mass m 1, other could be for mass m 2. So, this equation gives me, this is my Lagrange's equation of motion. So, this comes from the standard Lagrange's equation of motion. I take derivative with respect to x dot and d dt of that equal to now derivative with respect to x 1. And now we have extra term because of this constraint in the system. Constraint depends on x 1 as well as x 2. So, this is the constrained force of constraint along x axis. So, this is force of constraint and this is the normal force which is derivable from potential energy, because in Cartesian coordinate only in Cartesian coordinate only potential energy will depend on x and x 2 x 1 and x 2. So, this term is basically now I do that. So, this is what is my equation of motion, and similarly for the second particle, if there are two particle system, I will have a similar equations, and both of them can be written in combined form m 1 x 1 double dot or m 2 x 2 double dot. They are components of total force. Since it is particle is moving in a plane, there are two components of the total force. One is along x 1 axis, another is along x 2 axis, and the force here which is derivable from the potential energy, that is called non constant force. This may be derivable from a scalar function which we call potential energy. So, this is non constant force and the other one is constant force. Now, we will look at some example and we will see how we handle this kind of system. So, first we do an example of what is called Etude machine. It is very simple. There is a pulley here and on the pulley there is a string. So, which is strong enough. At two ends there are two masses. Let us say one is heavier, one is lighter. Initially lighter mass is much below the center of the pulley, and if we leave it to do its dynamics, this mass and weight here is heavy, there is G that is acting vertically downward. So, there are weights here and it will start moving on the pulley. So, in this problem let us consider pulley is massless to make all calculations straightforward, and okay. So, pulley is massless. and I am measuring the distance of center of mass of these two blocks from the center of the pulley. So, this one x 1 and here the smaller mass at a distance x 2. So, we will measure downward from here. So, x 1 and x 2 these are the distance. So, what is the constraint? So, length of the pulley is length of the string is fixed. So, this is x 1, this is x 2 and if the radius of the pulley is r, then there is a length pi r. Okay. So, pi r and x 1 x 2 that must be equal to the length of the string. So, pi r I have consumed in L here. In principle, there should be this distance and that is equal to L. But then I can redefine my L, I can call L prime and that is L minus pi r. So, actually we do not lose anything by consuming everything in the constant. So, now the form of my function of x 1 and x 2 is simply x 1 plus x 2 minus L equal to 0. So, form is what we studied earlier for holonomic constraints. So, this is a holonomic system and if we take the variation of this, we will get delta x 1 plus delta x 2 equal to 0. Now, again delta x 1 and delta x 2 they are not independent of each other, but their sum is 0. So, I can multiply with a multiplier lambda to this because this is 0. So, I can write lambda times delta x 1 plus lambda times delta x 2 that equal to 0. So, lambda could be a arbitrary thing, we can set its value if it is required, otherwise we do not do much till we are forced to get some value for this. So, in this case my function is x 1 plus x 2 minus L equal to 0. So, if I take derivative with respect to x 1 I get 1, similarly if I take derivative with respect to x 2 I get 1. So, dou f dou x 1 and dou f dou x 2 both of them are equal and that is equal to unity. Now, Lagrangian of the system, I have to write kinetic energy for both. So, for bigger one half m uppercase x 1 dot square, for the lower one half lowercase m the mass of the smaller block and x 2 dot square and then their potential energy. So, that potential energy I am measuring from the center of the pulley. So, potential energy is negative and in Lagrangian I have to take t minus u. So, they have become plus. So, that is what is my kinetic energy minus potential energy. Now, we have to find out Lagrange's equation of motion. As x 1 and x 2 they are not independent here, x 1 plus x 2 is always a fixed length. So, my equation of motion has been modified now. So, first Lagrange equation of motion, I have an extra term. So, Lagrangian is given. So, I can find this. So, I take derivative with respect to x 1 dot. So, I get m x 1 dot and then d d t of that. So, m x 1 double dot and if I take derivative of Lagrangian with respect to x 1, only this term contributes. So, here with x 1 it is uppercase m and with x 2 it is lowercase m. So, mg, that is what is coming here, and dou f dou x 1 is 1. So, then plus lambda. So, this is what is my equation. So, Lagrange multiplier I can write in terms of other quantities. So, m x 1 double dot minus m g. Okay. Similarly, Lagrange's equation of motion for second coordinate x 2. So, again this is my equation of motion d dt of momentum along x 2. So, dou L dou x 2 dot, that is what is p 2. So, rate of change of momentum along second axis is the force which is derivable from Lagrangian, and there is a force which is constraint force due to the constraint. So, Lagrangian is given here. So, equation of motion turns out to be m x 2 double dot equal to m g from here plus lambda. So, from here also we can find out lambda. So, lambda can be written in terms of first variable as well as second variable. Okay. Suppose we equate these two terms, then lambda goes away and we get some equation of motion. So, without knowing what is lambda, we might write equations of motion. We can also find out what is the meaning of lambda, that we will do in a moment. But I have used a technique called Lagrange multiplier, and from both the equations I have got the value of Lagrange multiplier. I equate them. Before equating, we must know, because of the constraint x 2 is L minus x 1. So, their velocity is in opposite direction. If one is going upward, if this is going upward, this is going downward. Since the length of the string is always fixed, it cannot be stretched, otherwise that equation of constraint will change. So, all delta x 1 x 2 will mean the length of the string has to be fixed. It cannot, it can move only along this vertical, it cannot go something like this, laterally it cannot go. That will not be consistent with the equation of the constraint. Okay. So, if I do that, so x 2 double dot is negative of x 1 double dot. So, x 2 double dot here I can write minus m x 1 double dot minus m g, and now we equate them and compute all the terms together. So, we get capital M plus small m x 1 double dot equal to capital M minus small m times g, and we can write down an expression for x 1 double dot. That, so, this is what is the equation of motion, and x 2 is not independent of x 1. So, once x 1 double dot is known, and that is also equal to minus x 2 double dot. So, we have already got equations of motion. Now, to understand what is lambda, is it connected with some physical quantity? So, let us apply Newton's law in this problem. Equation of motion can also be found out from applying Newton's law. So, let us use Newton's second law on the bigger mass capital M. So, what is the equation of motion? If it is going downward, then here is some tension, some force, tensile force, and so is here, and there is weight downward, and here also there is weight downward. So, these are the things we have. So, now we are trying to write equation of motion for this one. So, that is uppercase M x 1 double dot equal to m g minus t. So, this is tensile force because of the tension in the string, which on comparison with the equations we have got. What is lambda? So, lambda is the tension, right. So, it has dimension of force, that is what I am using. If it is force per unit length, then you will have to while equating here you have to be careful, then you have to write m g minus, if t is force per unit length, then you have to multiply with length, string is uniform, but this I am assuming a force. Okay. So, that L is not written. So, lambda is negative of tension. So, once lambda is fixed, second equation should automatically satisfy this. So, what is second equation? Second equation is m x 2 double dot is m g plus lambda. Lambda we have found out, minus t, we put it here. So, that is what it would be. When this value is negative, it will go upward. So, in this case this value will come out to be negative, it will go upward. Okay. So, this was an example for etude machine. Let us look at another example which we come across very often, coplanar pendulum. So, here I have plotted a coplanar pendulum. So, it is pendulum is attached to a fixed support at some pivot, and it can do motion in the vertical plane. Generalized coordinate is theta, but if we want to write the coordinate in Cartesian system, then I will have x and y. I can choose here origin, this is my x axis and this is my y axis. I can choose positive direction of y upward or downward, those things do not matter, that is for our convenience. So, constraint is x square plus y square equal to L square, that is what is my equation of constraint. So, the holonomic constraint equation I get x square plus y square minus L square equal to 0. So, if we take the variation in f, then I have to take variation of f with respect to x, that means partial derivative with respect to x, that is 2 of x times delta x and 2 of y delta y. So, delta f delta x is 2 x, dou f dou y is 2 y. So, this is 0. So, I can multiply with a multiplier. So, if I can multiply with this multiplier, 2 I may keep, I may not keep. So, that does not matter. So, 2 times lambda x delta x plus y delta y, that is equal to 0. and now there are two coordinates, but motion is of a single particle. In the Etude machine, there were two coordinates x 1 and x 2, but it was motion of two different particles. Okay. So, this also has two Cartesian coordinate pendulum problem, and Etude machine also had two Cartesian coordinates. Here there is one generalized coordinate, and their generalized coordinate was one of the variable x 1 or x 2, because x 2 is fixed as soon as x 1 is taken. L minus x 1 was x 2 in the problem of Etude's machine. So, here this is what is my potential energy. So, now I write down Lagrange's equation of motion. First I write Lagrangian. So, Lagrangian depends on x y, x dot y dot, and this is kinetic energy of the bob, and this is potential energy. This plus sign is there because I am measuring from the point of suspension downward. So, potential energy is negative. So, after it is subtracted, the sign is positive. So, now we have again two Lagrange's equation of motion in Cartesian coordinate system, and they are given. This is the extra term because of the constraint, otherwise it is a standard Lagrange's equation of motion. Had we chosen generalized coordinate theta, we have not bothered about this constraint thing, and equation of motion would have been the standard Lagrange's equation of motion in generalized coordinate for theta. But we decided to do it in Cartesian coordinates because we wanted to see how the constraints affect the analysis. Similarly, for y direction there is another Lagrange's equation of motion, and here again there is a term which is due to constraint. So, the first term is total force acting on that ddt of rate of ddt of p. So, this is rate of change of momentum, and this is the force which is derivable from the potential energy. Okay. And this is the force due to constraint which is not derivable from the potential energy. So, we have to write it separately. So, we have expression for Lagrangian, we know f, we have already seen dou f, dou x is 2x and dou f, dou y is 2y. So, wherever they are coming, we will put that. So, left hand side will give m x double dot, and since potential energy depends only on y, so x does not appear. You see, potential energy depends only on y, so x does not appear. So, as we had discussed earlier, since x does not appear, so x is a cyclic coordinate. X does not appear in the expression for Lagrangian. So, x is called cyclic or ignorable coordinates. Okay. Whenever a coordinate is cyclic, that means it does not appear explicitly in the expression for Lagrangian, corresponding momentum is conserved if there is no constraint. In this case, there is a constraint. If there was no constraint, then that would have been constant, but constraint is a force. So, there is still a force. So, we have to see what do we get. So, we have an equation m x double dot equal to 2 lambda x. Similarly, for the second one, we have a similar equation and we will get m y double dot equal to m g 2 lambda times y, because 2 y is dou f dou y. So, lambda times partial derivative of constraint function f with respect to y, and here 2 x was partial derivative of constraint function f with respect to x. If we want to know what is the meaning of lambda here, otherwise like in previous problem, we can replace lambda from here and can put it here, and x double dot and y double dot, they would be again connected. So, we can replace one of them and we will get an equation of motion. So, if we want to understand what is the meaning of lambda, then let us apply Newton's law. So, if we apply Newton's law, let us say along x axis, and so this is my force and I want equations in x direction as well as in y direction. So, in y direction, if it is t, it is t cos theta, and difference between these two forces will derive the bob, and along x axis there is no other force, there is one force because it is in circular motion. So, there is a centrifugal force, but tension is taking care of that. So, that will have no effect, but a component of that, which is t sin theta. So, that is in the other direction. So, t sin theta will derive it. Okay. So, from Newton's law, we get in y direction m y double dot is m g minus the force due to tension into cos theta, and m g, what is cos theta? F t is same, cos theta is y by L. This is my theta and this is x, this is y. So, if I take cos of theta base upon hypotenuse, hypotenuse is L. So, cosine theta is y upon L. Okay. So, applying Newton's law, I can get this equation, and this is equal to our equation from Lagrange's equation. We have got m g minus 2 lambda y. So, now we compare these two terms, m g is same. So, 2 lambda is equal to f t by L. So, 2 lambda is f t by L, which is force per unit length. So, that is what generally we use for tension, but generally in such problems several times people write tension also a meaning force, but actually it is force per unit length. So, that is what we have come. Now, we check in second equation whether we have got it correct or not. So, Newton's law tells me F x double dot would be the tensile force sin theta times sin theta. Theta is the angle the pendulum is making with the vertical, and sin theta is x by L. So, this is given 2 lambda x. Now, 2 lambda should be consistent whatever we got here. So, here also we got precisely the same thing. So, the results we obtained here is consistent here. So, constraint equation has been implemented properly. So, that is how constraints work. I have showed you with 2 examples. Thanks a lot.